She was off limits. Until the Millionaire CEO chose her. The boardroom froze. William Cross, 32, Billionaire CEO, had just broken the one rule that could destroy him. Under the table, his hand found his assistant's. Sabrina Vale, the girl no one was supposed to notice. Across the room, his ex-fiancée, Victoria Ashford, was presenting quarterly results, smiling like she didn't see it. But someone did. Every second stretched thin, every eye a threat. If the board found out, he'd lose everything. If she pulled away, she'd lose him. The company, the money, the trust, all hanging by a single touch. And somewhere, a camera was already recording. By morning, someone would be ruined. But who? Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The elevator doors opened to the 32nd floor, and Sabrina Vale stepped into a world that didn't belong to her. Glass walls, echoing heels, faces too polished to notice the new girl clutching a second-hand handbag. This wasn't just another job. It was survival. Her mother's hospital bills were due in 9 days. Sterling Tech CEO, William Cross, was already a legend. Ruthless in the boardroom, invisible outside it. People said he didn't date, didn't drink, didn't look twice at anyone. Her first rule was simple: keep your head down. Don't get noticed. By 10 a.m., that rule was already in pieces. He walked straight into her cubicle. "You're the new assistant?" "Yes, sir." "Drop the sir. It's William." She blinked. No CEO talked like that. He noticed the cracks in her confidence, the trembling hands, the scuffed laptop bag, the way she flinched at noise. "Relax," he said. "No one bites here. Not unless I tell them to." Everyone in the office froze when he said it. Was he joking? She couldn't tell. What kind of boss was William Cross? And why did everyone fear him? 2 weeks later, she discovered something no one else seemed to see. William wasn't the machine the rumors made him. He worked before sunrise, made his own coffee, helped the janitors move boxes. And he noticed everything. "You corrected my slide deck last night," he said one morning, eyes scanning her. "Engineering degree, right?" "Half a degree," she admitted. "Dropped out. Needed the paycheck." He leaned back. "That's not a reason to waste potential. Work with me for a year. I'll make sure you end up where you belong." It was the kind of offer that could change a life, or ruin one. And for the first time since she'd been hired, Sabrina forgot about the rule. Then one night, as she locked up, she heard raised voices in his office. "You're pushing too hard," his CFO said. "You can't keep ignoring the investors." William's voice was sharp. "It's my company. I built it from nothing. Tell them that." She lingered by the door. A photo frame lay face down on his desk. When he saw her, his tone changed instantly. "Come." Controlled. "Long day, Sabrina?" She nodded. But in the reflection of the window, she caught the photo. William and a woman. Blonde. Elegant. Smiling. He turned the frame over. "Old mistake," he said softly. Who was she, and why did that single picture shake him? Days turned into weeks. He started trusting her with more. Confidential emails, investor calls, late-night strategy meetings. Each new task felt like a test. Each time she passed, the silence between them grew heavier. He stopped calling her Miss Vale, started calling her Sabrina. He began showing up at her desk before meetings, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. "You shouldn't stay this late," he'd say. But he never told her to leave. The office lights dimmed after 9 p.m., leaving just their monitors glowing in the dark. Sometimes he'd glance up and catch her staring. Sometimes she'd pretend not to notice. Then came the night she found a note on her desk. "Tomorrow, 6 a.m. Presentation prep. Don't be late." When she arrived, the whole floor was empty. Only him. "Sit," he said, handing her a coffee. "We've got an investor pitch in 2 hours. I want you in the room." "Assistants don't sit in board meetings," she said. "They do when they're the smartest person on the floor." It sounded like praise, but it felt like danger. The investor pitch in 2 hours would define the company's future and her place in it. The pitch went perfectly. Investors left impressed. William thanked her in front of everyone. By afternoon, her inbox flooded with congratulations. For the first time, she belonged. Until the glass doors opened at 4:37 p.m. A woman stepped in, blonde hair, tailored coat, smile sharp enough to cut. The entire office seemed to recognize her. William didn't move. "Sabrina," he said quietly, "hold my calls." The woman's voice carried across the room. "Still hiding behind your assistants, Will?" Everyone froze. Sabrina looked between them. The tension wasn't business. It was personal, deep, unfinished. The woman extended her hand to Sabrina. "Victoria Ashford, investor, old friend, old friend." The same woman from the photo. Sabrina's stomach twisted. William's jaw clenched. "Meeting room. Now." The door closed behind them. The glass walls turned opaque. Inside, their silhouettes argued. Sharp gestures, broken pacing, unresolved history. Then silence. William stepped out first. Expression unreadable. "Cancel my evening schedule," he said. "All of it." And when Sabrina met his eyes, for the first time since she'd met him, he looked afraid. Who is Victoria Ashford, and why does her return make the unshakable William Cross look like he's seen a ghost? Let's have your comment in the comment section. The Monday after Victoria Ashford walked back into Sterling Tech, nothing felt normal. Meetings ran late. Whispering replaced small talk. Executives who'd once avoided William now hovered outside his office with smiles too eager to be real. The board saw what they'd been waiting for, a merger that could double the company's value overnight. Ashford Capital and Sterling Tech, a perfect reunion, they called it. But in the quiet between meetings, Sabrina heard the truth. Victoria isn't just an investor. She owns part of him. Everywhere she turned, Victoria was there. At William's side during presentations. In the cafeteria, laughing like she'd never left. And when Sabrina passed, Victoria's smile tightened, measured, assessing. She knew Sabrina's name before they'd even spoken. "You must be the new assistant," Victoria said sweetly. He always had a type, loyal, quiet, underpaid. Sabrina forced a polite nod, but her pulse was screaming. That night, she replayed every interaction with William. Every time he'd said her name softly. Every time he'd looked like he wanted to say something more. Now, it all felt fragile, temporary. Because if Victoria was back, maybe she wasn't just here for business. What does Victoria really want? The merger, or William? A week later, Sabrina stayed late to file expenses. The office was empty except for the hum of servers. When she logged into the HR portal, something caught her eye: her insurance plan. It had changed. Coverage for long-term treatment. New provider. Full approval. She hadn't applied for it. Her throat went dry. There was only one person with access to override the plan that way. William. She found him in his office, coat off, eyes tired. "You changed my mother's coverage." He looked up, quiet. "I made sure the system recognized her as a dependent. That's all." "That's not all. It costs thousands." He cut her off gently. "You earned it. You've carried this company for 3 months. Let me carry something for once." She wanted to be angry, grateful, everything all at once. But all she managed was, "Why?" His answer came like a confession. "Because no one ever did that for me." The silence stretched. Then he looked away. "You shouldn't tell anyone. The board wouldn't understand." She nodded slowly. "Neither would Victoria." He froze. And for a second, Sabrina thought she saw guilt in his eyes. What secret history binds William and Victoria? And why is he protecting it? By the end of the quarter, the merger talks were everywhere. Victoria held informal lunches that weren't informal at all. She started calling William Will again, like she used to. And the investors ate it up, the idea of the golden couple reuniting to lead the next phase. Sabrina watched from the sidelines, typing notes, pretending not to hear the whispers. 2 companies. 1 future, Victoria said in the meeting room, her voice velvet. She placed a manicured hand on William's wrist. The gesture was small, calculated, enough to make Sabrina's stomach turn. When the meeting ended, Victoria lingered. "Sabrina," she said, smiling too sweetly, "could you give us a moment?" Sabrina nodded, left the room, but not before hearing the words that made her stop in the hallway. "I never stopped loving you, Will. You can pretend all you want, but I know you." Silence. Then William's voice, low, restrained. "That's the problem. You know the old me." A pause. A soft laugh from Victoria. "Then let's fix that." Sabrina stepped back before she could hear more. Her phone buzzed. A message. From her mother's nurse. Hospital billing delayed. New payment confirmed. Her chest tightened. Gratitude turned to fear. Was William helping her, or keeping her trapped? The merger vote was set for Friday. By then, William had to choose Victoria's deal or the company's independence. Friday arrived like a storm. The boardroom buzzed with numbers and praise for Victoria's proposal. Sabrina sat quietly beside the screen, typing notes she couldn't focus on. When the meeting ended, Victoria approached William, smiling for the crowd. "Dinner tonight," she said lightly. "We should finalize details, privately." Her tone wasn't business. It was ownership. The executives glanced at each other, already assuming the answer. William hesitated. Sabrina waited for him to refuse. He didn't. He only said, "I'll think about it." Victoria's smile widened, slow and victorious. "I'll take that as a yes." She turned, leaving perfume and silence behind. Sabrina stayed behind to clear the table. William spoke quietly. "You don't need to stay late tonight." Her voice was colder than she meant. "Big night." He looked at her, searching for something he couldn't fix. "It's just business." "Right," she said. "Everything is." He opened his mouth to speak, but stopped when his phone buzzed. A message lit the screen. Victoria, 8 p.m. Our place. Don't be late. Sabrina stared at the reflection of the message in the glass table before she turned away. She didn't ask if he'd go. She already knew the answer. Because some rules in this world weren't written in policy, they were written in power. And tonight, power belonged to Victoria Ashford. When Victoria invites William to dinner to discuss the merger, will he go, or finally draw the line? If you are in William, what will be your reaction? Let's hear your opinions in the comments section. It was nearly 11 p.m. Chicago glittered below, 1,000 stories reflected in Sterling Tech's glass tower. Everyone else was gone. Everyone except him. Sabrina found William standing near the rooftop railing, hands deep in his pockets, eyes lost in the skyline. He didn't turn when she said his name. Victoria wants an answer, he said finally. She crossed her arms. About the merger? He exhaled slowly. About everything. The wind pushed against them, carrying the hum of traffic, the low pulse of city life. Everything normal, except this. He looked tired. Not in the way long hours made a man tired, but like someone who'd been running from himself for too long. You're thinking of saying yes, she said. He didn't deny it. I built this company with her father's money, he said quietly. Without Ashford Capital, Sterling wouldn't exist. Maybe this merger is just inevitable. Sabrina shook her head. That's not what she wants. He finally turned to her. You think I don't know that? Silence. The kind that presses against your ribs until it hurts. Then he said it, barely above a whisper. She doesn't want the company. She wants me. What will he give up to keep the empire he built? He took a step closer. The distance between them shrank to something dangerous. I shouldn't tell you this, he murmured. But I can't keep pretending. Pretending what? She asked, voice soft but steady. That I don't feel it too. The air stilled. The sound of the city faded to nothing. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. He looked at her like the truth itself was something he wasn't allowed to want. Then he kissed her. It wasn't careful or calculated. It was an accident, born of weeks of restraint and silence. Soft, desperate, real. For a moment, everything made sense. Why she stayed late, why he couldn't look at her too long, why his hand had trembled that day in the boardroom. When they finally pulled apart, the world rushed back in. He was the first to speak. You're off limits. She swallowed hard. Then stop holding me like that. He didn't move. Neither of them did. The city lights flickered against the glass walls, painting them in fragments of gold and shadow. Then, faintly, a red blink. The rooftop security camera light. It wasn't just watching. It was recording. Who else knows they were up there? The next morning, nothing looked different, but everything felt it. Sabrina typed reports that made no sense. William walked into meetings and forgot what was being discussed. Victoria was everywhere again. Her perfume in the elevator, her name on every agenda. And yet, all William could think about was the taste of regret and the echo of that rooftop moment. That afternoon, she cornered him in the corridor. You avoided me all morning, she said quietly. I'm trying to protect you. By pretending it didn't happen? He looked at her, eyes storm dark. If anyone finds out, it destroys you first. And you. I've already been destroyed once, he said. By her. Sabrina didn't ask what that meant. She didn't have to. But across the floor, in the glass reflection of the opposite building, something flickered. 2 security guards reviewing footage on a monitor. William's voice broke through her thoughts. "There's a camera on the roof. I'll have the footage wiped." Her heart raced. "You think someone's seen it already?" He didn't answer. Because they both knew, at Sterling Tech, nothing stayed secret for long. If someone saw the footage, what will they do with it? That night, long after most employees left, Sabrina's phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. "You should tell him to check the security logs." Then, another text. "Before Victoria does." Her pulse hammered. She raced to William's office. He was still there, sleeves rolled up, staring at his laptop like he could will the world to behave. "Someone's watching us," she said, breathless. He frowned. "What do you mean?" She handed him her phone. His jaw tightened. He typed quickly, pulling up internal access records. Then he stopped cold. 1 login. 1 user. V. Ashford. 9:47 p.m. He looked up. She saw it. Sabrina's stomach dropped. The footage. He nodded once. "And if she has it, she'll use it." The air in the office grew heavy, the weight of a threat unspoken but certain. For the first time, Sabrina saw real fear in his eyes. "William," she whispered, "what is she going to do?" He didn't answer. Outside, lightning flashed over the city. Inside, the red light on the building's security hub blinked again. Recording, always recording. And somewhere in the building, a private file was already uploading. Who do you think has access to that footage? And what will they do with it? Morning light crawled through the blinds like an accusation. At 7:12 a.m., the company's internal servers crashed under a flood of alerts. By 7:14, every executive in Sterling Tech had the same anonymous email in their inbox. Subject line: Inappropriate relationship between CEO and subordinate. Attached: 3 stills. William and Sabrina. On the rooftop, her hand against his chest. His head bent close. No timestamp. No caption. No context. Just enough to ruin them both. By 8 o'clock, HR called an emergency meeting. By 8:30, the board demanded William's presence. By 8:45, the whispers started. She was his assistant, right? Maybe that's how she got promoted. Didn't she start a few months after the Ashford deal fell apart? Every hallway became a battlefield of glances. Every word, a weapon. At 9 o'clock sharp, William's assistant texted, "Victoria Ashford is in the lobby. She's requesting access to the boardroom." He didn't need to ask why. He already knew. Will she bring proof or poison? By 9:15, the boardroom was full. The air hummed with quiet dread. William stood at the head of the table. Sabrina sat 3 seats down, pale, unreadable. Victoria entered like she owned the floor. Tailored ivory suit, flawless hair, eyes that glittered like glass. She placed a file on the table. "Evidence," she said simply. The legal counsel opened it, flipped through, froze. Printed screenshots. The rooftop. The kiss. The timestamp. Gasps murmured through the room. Someone whispered, "God help him." Victoria smiled faintly. This company can't afford a scandal. The investors are already nervous. My father's firm could stabilize Sterling if the transition of leadership happens quietly. Translation: step down or be destroyed. William didn't flinch. You leaked it. Careful, she said smoothly. Accusations without proof can sound like desperation. Sabrina's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed to speak. But this was his battlefield, and she was the ammunition. A director leaned forward. Mr. Cross, the optics are untenable. Perhaps you should consider temporary leave. Victoria's voice cut in like silk over steel. Resignation would be best. William's gaze drifted to Sabrina. She looked small but steady, like someone deciding how much of herself she was willing to lose. Finally, he spoke. She stays. I'll take responsibility. I'll step down. The room fell silent. Victoria blinked, almost surprised at how easily he'd handed her victory. Then Sabrina stood. Her chair scraped the floor, loud and final. Mini cliffhanger. What could she possibly say to stop him? Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. Don't. Every eye turned to her. She took one breath, then another, until the fear turned into something else. Resolve. I'm resigning, she said. William shook his head. No. Yes, she said. Because if you step down for me, you're proving them right. She looked directly at the board. He didn't cross a line. I did. I fell for someone who believed in me when no one else did. If compassion and honesty are fireable offenses, then maybe I'm in the wrong place. The board murmured. A lawyer whispered something to the chairperson. Someone else said, "She's taking the blame?" Victoria's smile faltered. Sabrina turned to her. You wanted me gone, didn't you? Congratulations. But if you think this company is stronger without him, you're wrong. Then she faced William. Don't protect me. Lead them. That's what you're good at. She turned to leave. The silence she left behind wasn't shame. It was admiration. William straightened slowly, something fierce rekindling behind his eyes. He looked at Victoria, then at the board. We don't need Ashford Capital, he said. We never did. And just like that, the room fractured. Did he just save the company or signed its death warrant? The board erupted into argument. Numbers, shares, legal exposure, image damage. But William didn't hear any of it. He only heard Sabrina's footsteps fading down the hallway. Victoria turned on him. You'll regret this. He met her eyes. I already did. Outside the glass wall, flashes from press cameras glinted. The story had already leaked. The world was watching. He took a steadying breath and addressed the room one final time. This company was built on innovation, not fear. If integrity costs me everything, then maybe it's worth the price. He walked out. Down the hall, Sabrina was waiting by the elevator, resignation letter in hand. When he reached her, neither spoke. The elevator chimed. She stepped inside. I'll find another way to pay the bills, she said quietly. He nodded. And I'll find a way to fix this. The doors began to close, then stopped halfway. From inside, she whispered, You shouldn't have kissed me. He smiled sadly. I know. The doors closed. Inside the boardroom, Victoria's phone buzzed. A new notification. The security log. Someone had leaked her credentials as the source of the footage. Her face drained of color. The chair of the board looked at her coldly. You'd better call your father. In one morning, her empire began to crack. What happens to them now that everything is out in the open? The headlines landed like shrapnel across business feeds. Sterling Tech in turmoil. Ashford Capital walks. Stock tumbles. Commentators argued motives. Lawyers circled. For 3 chaotic weeks, William ran the company in triage, cutting budgets, firing PR teams, sleeping on the office couch. The empire shrank, but it did not collapse. Sabrina left before the cameras could parade her shame. She went home to Ohio, to a small house with a cracked porch and a mother who needed morning pills and moral patience. She volunteered at the community center, fixing robotics kits, coaching underfunded kids. The work was quiet and honest. It paid less. It healed more. In Chicago, Sterling turned inward. Longtime employees left. New hires filled roles with guarded faces. Investors checked their phones at night. William learned hard lessons. Loyalty costs money, reputation costs more. He began to rebuild with people who cared about product, not press cycles. 3 months in, a plain envelope arrived at Sabrina's kitchen table. No return address. Sterling Tech letterhead. Inside, a single typed line, "Your desk in product development is waiting when you're ready." The letter didn't beg or bargain. It offered an open door and a test. Sabrina sat with the envelope for an hour, then placed it in a drawer next to unpaid bills and medical forms. Night after night, she imagined 2 futures, the one where she never returned and built something small and real, and the one where she walked back into a glass tower that had nearly broken her. Curiosity tugged at her. Who signed that note? Was it a genuine offer or a PR maneuver? Could she trust the man who'd kissed her on a roof and then watched the company burn to protect her? Some nights she told herself the answer was obvious. Never go back. Other nights she whispered that some chances were worth the risk. When your past offers a second chance, is returning bravery or reckless hope? 6 months later, Sabrina walked through Sterling's revolving doors with a new badge and a new nameplate. Junior Engineer, Product Development. The floor smelled of solder and ambition, not fear. She had negotiated the role herself. No assistant tasks, no CEO sidewalks. She wanted work that built things, not secrets. Her first week was a study in small victories. A successful prototype calibration, a mentor who taught her new tools, a teammate who argued product features instead of gossip. Sterling felt different in the wings, leaner, less polished, and somehow more honest. Then, on a gray afternoon, William rode the elevator down to the floor. He kept his distance. Formal nods, quick smiles. Faces in the hall stiffened when he passed. He had lost investors, but not conviction. His presence was a measure of how much Sterling had already survived. That evening, after the lights dimmed, she stepped into the elevator on her way out. William was inside. Silence hung like glass between them. The doors hummed. The building creaked. Neither moved to fill the void. She asked the question that had been gnawing at her for months. Was it worth it? He looked at her as if trying to decide whether telling the truth would hurt less than hiding it. Every risk, he said slowly. Every headline. Not because I wanted to be famous, but because I wanted to stop lying. Her shoulders relaxed, then tightened. There were still lawsuits, and still the ghosts of shareholders. But the rough edge was gone. Honesty had its cost, but lying had cost more. They left the elevator on separate floors. The moment felt like repair. Not closure, not promise, but a small truce. She returned home that night with a lighter step and a new question simmering under the surface. Have you subscribed to our channel yet? If not, like and subscribe for more stories like this one. Can honesty rebuilt on ruins ever hold, especially when the world expects spectacle over truth? 3 weeks later, William asked her to meet him. No emails, no office watchers, on the rooftop where everything had started. The city stitched silver light below. The air smelled like coming rain. He was there, sleeves rolled, tired in a way money couldn't fix. Sabrina stood a few steps away, steady. They didn't pretend the past hadn't happened. They approached it like two people reading the same bruise. "You should be building something in there," he said, nodding toward product development. "Not standing on rooftops." She smiled without humor. "I needed to see if the skyline looked the same." He took a breath. His next words were careful. "Are you happy?" She thought of nights bent over circuit boards, of a mother's slow recovery, of the quiet gratitude of kids at the community center. She thought of headlines and of how nearly everything she'd feared had brought her here, to this honest work. "I'm building something that feels like mine," she answered. "I'm learning how to take up space." He nodded, relief and regret mixed. "Then I kept my promise." He stepped closer. There was no boardroom between them now, no PR script, no investor's timetable. Only two people who'd paid a price and still wanted to be better. They didn't rehearse everything they couldn't promise. Instead, they set terms, respect for careers, clarity about boundaries, and a slow rebuilding of trust. Sabrina asked for independence. He promised support, not shelter. They agreed that public choices would not replace private consent. When the city lights caught his face, he said simply, "You were always worth it." She answered, not in surrender but in an echoed strength. "And you were never off limits, not really." Their hands brushed. This time it wasn't hidden. It was visible and intentional. When the costs of love are counted, what does rebuilding require? Compromise, stubbornness, or both? Months unfolded in steady, grueling cadence. Sterling stabilized. The company that stayed was not the one that had once chased market hype. It was smaller, focused, and quietly respected. William rebuilt the leadership with people who prioritized product and ethics. Sabrina led a team on a prototype that finally got board sign-off. Her patent filed, she watched her design move toward reality. They kept their private lives guarded but honest. Coffee breaks became short lunches, then rare dinners where talk centered on projects, not past headlines. They refused spectacle. They chose work and patience. One autumn evening, Sabrina stood in the lab watching a test run. The device hummed, then delivered results better than the team had predicted. Her chest filled with a calm pride that didn't need press releases. William appeared in the doorway, no entourage, just a quiet smile. They walked out together to the rooftop. The city was a soft glow, a map of choices. No cameras watched. The silence was permission. He took her hand. "We learned something costly," he said. "Not every rule is sacred. Some are barriers that keep you from living." She squeezed his hand back. "We learned the difference between ruin and risk." They let the night hold them, not as a rescue but as two people making a deliberate life, one measured by work, care, and the courage to act honestly. Is the true cost of doing what's right measured in reputation, or in the peace you earn afterward? Final overlay CTA, end of part 4, on-screen text. Tell us where you're watching from, subscribe for more powerful stories, and stay tuned because tomorrow we'll drop another story you won't want to miss. Your support helps us keep bringing you these stories.